next, let's bring in Jonathan Turley. He's a CBS News legal analyst and constitutional law professor at George Washington University. Jonathan, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Under the Constitution, is there a limit on how long Nancy Pelosi can delay sending the articles of impeachment to the Senate?
No, but there's also no reason the Senate cannot change its rules and just order the start of a trial. The waiting of the Senate on the House is a courtesy contained in the Senate rules. It's not contained in the Constitution. Historically, it's been the case that the House brings over effectively these articles in the list of managers. There's a lot of misconception about that. The Senate rules actually don't require the transfer of the articles of impeachment to start the trial. The Senate rules actually refer to the list of House managers. That's what they wait for. And once again, it's a courtesy. It's essentially the Senate saying, once you've got your house in order, literally, let us know and we'll start the trial. They can change that rule. And I don't see any evidence that this has really accomplished much. I think that many Democratic members are now sort of pushing the Speaker to give up the ghost and send over the articles and list of managers.
Well, this delay has prompted President Trump to suggest last month that there is no impeachment, and you penned an op-ed in which you disagree with that premise, writing, "I testified against President Trump's impeachment, but let's not pretend it didn't happen." So in your view, does impeachment require an actual submission to the Senate?
No. And President Trump's tweet was in response to my co-witness from the impeachment hearing in the Judiciary Committee, Harvard professor Noah Feldman. And Noah argued that, indeed, until the articles of impeachment are transferred to the Senate, there is no impeachment. I have to say I entirely disagree with that position. I don't believe there is anything in the history, the language, or the logic of the Constitution that would support that. Even Noah's colleague, Larry Tribe at Harvard, says that he doesn't see any evidence either. This president is impeached. He is also untried. Until they can get these House managers to the Senate, there will not be a trial. But he most certainly is impeached.
Well, Democrats say that they want assurances of how the Senate trial will proceed with respect to witnesses and documents. What parameters does the Constitution spell out for impeachment trials?
There are no parameters on the issue of witnesses. Historically, witnesses have been called before the Senate. In the last impeachment trial, where I was lead defense counsel and my opposing counsel was Adam Schiff, we actually had witnesses, went on for weeks, and the record was quite extensive. But it's up to the Senate. I think this is a very good practice. The problem is that the hypocrisy on this is really hip deep. The Democrats voted, with the exception of one member, to block witnesses during the Clinton trial, and people like Minority Leader Schumer actually voted to have a summary vote and not have a trial. So this is one of those areas where keeping track of what people are saying in terms of principle or lack thereof is hard to do.
Speaking of Chuck Schumer, in a recent op-ed, another one that you wrote in the Washington Post titled, "Chuck Schumer Wants Witnesses, Hunter Biden Could Be a Disaster," you write, "For the Democrats, witnesses are a dangerous game. The worse that Hunter Biden looks, the better Trump looks in raising the contract." Now, you were referring to his lucrative deal with the Ukrainian gas company. While that may be true, isn't that risk worth it for Democrats to potentially hear from other witnesses working inside the White House?
Yes, my column was not arguing against witnesses. Clearly, people like John Bolton are material witnesses. My objection during the impeachment hearing was not to the two articles that they approved. Those were the only two articles I said would be legitimate. They just have to prove those claims, and I encouraged them to wait for just a couple of months to create the record that they would need for removal. So I'm not arguing against witnesses, but they should also understand Hunter Biden is relevant. He's material. He would be allowed as a witness in a conventional trial. You know, just as John Bolton has direct evidence of a possible quid pro quo, Hunter Biden has direct evidence that goes to the defense of the president. I mean, he is saying that he wanted a hold to get some investigations on that type of corrupt contract. Well, the Hunter Biden contract was corrupt. Doesn't mean it was criminal, but it was most certainly an effort at influence peddling. And I don't hear many people really disagreeing with that. It will not look good under the lights of a Senate impeachment trial. I got to tell you, this is a contract that most Americans would really recoil from.
All right, we'll continue to watch this. Jonathan Turley. Jonathan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.